Let me just explain to you the difference in the abuse and the difference in departments of justice. I mean, we can go all the way back to Republicans having a fit when JFK tried to nominate RFK, his brother, to be Attorney General. But I can actually go back to Joe Biden. Joe Biden indicted his own son. Did he deserve to be indicted? Yes. But he indicted his own son.
You're saying the White House was directing. You're saying the White House was directing indictments. But you're saying they were directing indictments. That's a revelation.
Have one person speak at a time.
You've got Republican strategist Scott Jennings absolutely laying waste to CNN's berry sellers, exposing the blatant hypocrisy in how the media handles justice. These same pundits cheered when prosecutors went after Trump, shouting, "No one is above the law," from every headline. But the second James Comey faces accountability, they suddenly claim it's political. Welcome to MN News, where we call out the double standards the corporate press refuses to admit. CNN is melting down over Comey's indictment. The very man they once praised for targeting Trump is now in the hot seat, and suddenly the rules have changed. After years of defending witch hunts and weaponized investigations, the network that swore it stood for law and order is panicking now that their own favorite faces the same system. The irony couldn't be clearer. This is Scott Jennings at his best. Calm, sharp, and fearless, holding the so-called truth-tellers accountable with their own logic and exposing every ounce of their double standard.
And put somebody who, I mean, is just simply inept and unqualified to actually have that job.
Well, she was apt and qualified enough to get a grand jury to look at the evidence and return 2 charges against him. Are you saying that this process, which is used all over the country every single day to bring crimes all over the code, is somehow broken? These are ordinary citizens in a liberal jurisdiction who looked at evidence from a prosecutor and said, yeah, it looks like there's something here. Is that not what happened?
Yeah.
Watching somebody like Speaker Johnson normalize that, it sends us down an incredibly dangerous path.
I'm stunned to hear you say we're now worried about normalizing this kind of thing. We had an attorney.
You are about to do right now. Let's hear it.
I'm about to tell you what happened in the state of New York when the Democratic Attorney General ran an entire political campaign promising not to uphold justice, but to prosecute one person, Donald Trump. And I didn't hear a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth among Democrats about normalizing the weaponization of justice.
And what we're talking about is the abuse of the system.
What abuse beyond the idea of prosecuting people when Democrats were going after Trump? Were you worried about abuse?
Because I firmly believe that Donald Trump broke the law and he was indicted.
Do you think the 34 charges that are cited all the time were...
You know, for years, Democrats and their loyal media allies have been preaching that no one is above the law. They've plastered it across their screens, their headlines, and every CNN panel they could find, all while cheering on every single one of the 91 charges stacked against Donald Trump. But notice the silence. When it comes to their own, suddenly, when one of their figures, like James Comey, faces accountability for allegedly misleading Congress and obstructing oversight, they rush to cry foul and call it political persecution. It's the double standard of the century. These are the same people who brushed off Hillary Clinton allegedly destroying phones with hammers and Biden keeping classified files in his garage. But now they want everyone to believe the justice system is being weaponized just because one of their own is under fire. Scott Jennings cut right through that narrative, reminding everyone of a simple truth. This isn't about politics. It's about process. A grand jury, made up of ordinary citizens, reviewed the evidence and made the call. CNN can spin, whine, and twist it however they want. But the facts remain. This wasn't ordered from a podium. It came from a legal system that Democrats themselves once praised. Jennings hit them where it hurts most, their credibility, by forcing them to face the same standard they demanded for Trump, a standard CNN keeps trying to dance around and deny.
Well, look, that's the thing. There's a system, and the system includes grand juries and juries of ordinary Americans who get in a room and make decisions. He can't order people to be indicted, and he can't order people to be convicted. He can express his opinion. In the case of Comey, grand jurors in a very liberal jurisdiction got together and decided that the evidence did warrant charges. Comey will go to trial, and then a jury of his peers will decide whether he is guilty or not. The president can't do anything about that. He can make commentary on it. I'm not sure if it's wise or not wise to do that, or if it will matter at all. But ultimately, I'll just say what Jim Comey said when Donald Trump was indicted. It's a good day for the rule of law because we have a system, and the system is in place, and the system is working as it was designed, with average, ordinary Americans making decisions about how our laws will be enforced.
But you know, you said that he can't actually order the indictment of someone. I think he just proved that he could. I think what he did, the series of events that took place here, we have to actually be clear about what happened, right? He tried to pressure Eric Siebert at the Eastern District of Virginia to pursue this prosecution. He did not. The U.S. prosecutors there said they did not see enough evidence. So he forces him out. He publicly declares to Pam Bondi, you need to target these political enemies, specifically labeling James Comey. And then, right after that, installs Lindsay Halligan, a former insurance lawyer with no prosecutorial experience, to go in there. And then within days, Comey's indicted, even after rank and file prosecutors, they gave her a declination memo that said, this is why we don't think there's enough evidence. So I don't think this is just the process playing out. I think this is Donald Trump explicitly abusing his power and directing a prosecution of a political enemy.
You said we have to be very clear about what happened, and then you left out the most critical part, where a prosecutor has to go into a grand jury, present the evidence, and make the case why charges are warranted. And the grand jury has to agree with that. In this case, they did. Now, I don't know if he'll be convicted or not, but you can't leave out and deny that there's a critical step where average, ordinary Americans get put in a room and they ultimately have to decide, does a case go or does it not go? And then they will decide whether you're guilty or whether you're not guilty. That is an important part of the process that he cannot really alter or change.
You know, Scott Jennings hit the nail on the head. A 23-member grand jury in Northern Virginia, hardly a conservative stronghold, reviewed the evidence and concluded that James Comey should face indictment. That's not Donald Trump waving a magic wand or pulling political strings. That's a room full of ordinary citizens evaluating the facts and saying, yes, this deserves to go forward. And honestly, after everything that unfolded during Russiagate and the Mueller saga, many Americans see this as long overdue. For years, Comey was portrayed as some kind of moral guardian by the establishment press, the same press that framed Trump as guilty before a single piece of evidence was proven. Yet now, when accountability finally catches up, they're suddenly silent. This isn't vengeance, it's justice. And it's being delivered not by politicians, but by the same legal process Democrats swore by when it suited their agenda. Jennings is right. This is exactly how the system is meant to work. It's just that this time, the scales finally tip towards someone they once protected. So, what do you think? Is this Comey indictment the moment the curtain finally gets pulled back on the so-called deep state, or just another act in Washington's political theater meant to distract and divide? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear what you think. And if you're tired of the double standards, the selective outrage, and the endless spin from legacy media, hit that like button, subscribe, and help us keep truth and accountability alive. Until next time, this is MN News reminding you the real story always starts where the media wants it to end.